Now, Hetep, Ankh, Waja, Senab, Ankh, Waja, Senab, health, strength, and prosperity, health, strength, and energy to all. They find themselves in the earshot of these words. We, the Bennu Society, come to set the record straight, make sure all information is right and exact. In the beginning of the gods, the beginning of the cosmology that's charted by the Bennu Society, it begins with, most people begin with the primordial waters, or the ocean of Noon, NWN, Noon, and this is a great ocean of potential energy that hadn't manifested or taken form yet, except for the beings that lived inside of that water, in the form of frogs and toads, frogs and serpents rather. The males were frogs and the females were serpents. And according to the cosmology, there was 8 of them, and they were called the Kaminu, or they were called the Kaminu. The ancient NTRT word for 8 is Chemin, so they were called the Cheminu. And it was an ancient city in Middle Egypt called Cheminu, and the Greeks called that city Hermopolis, after the god Hermes, which is actually Tahuti or Jakuti. And that's a very important center of knowledge. And this place, or these 8 gods rather, were also called the DWAT by the Greeks. Now these 8 gods existed in the primordial waters of Noon before things had become manifest. And in modern science today, they call that the ocean of quarks, or the potential, the world of potential, where things where things come from. It's like you study this in quantum physics or quantum mechanics, and it speaks of a world that is just made of infinite possibilities. And this is the world of Noon. It's called the primordial ocean, and there's also a reference to outer space, because that's also an ocean of potential, where stars are born and where whole worlds and planets come into existence. So in the beginning, the Kaminu, or the 8 gods, started to move around at the request of the god Ptah. Now, the 8 gods actually made the god Ptah, but at the same time, the 8 gods were Ptah. And this all existed in the world of potential. The 8 gods were Ptah. Now, there's an ancient Egyptian saying that says, where the NTRT, or the NTRT, the god, the Neter, says of himself that I was 1, then I was 2, and then I was 4, and then I was 8, and then I was 1 again. And this number symbolism has everything to do with the DWAT and Ptah, or the Kaminu and Ptah. PTH, Ptah. They actually made up his body. he was them. So when he gave the word for creation to exist, for creation to begin, for a mound to rise up out of the primordial waters, the 8 DWAT formed a mound, or a hill, the original hill of land that raised itself up out of the primordial waters. You can imagine it as a great ocean with an island goes up out of it, or more like a mountain or a hill rose up out of it. And that mountain is composed of 8 gods. But this is also symbolic of life coming out of the water and crawling onto the land. Amphibious life. Because Ptah lived in the water. They call him the only one. And when he spoke with his heart and his tongue, when he meditated in his heart and spoke with his tongue, creation began. So here we see how the 3 major religions copy the story of creation coming from the mouth. So the DWAT or the Kaminu are known as the mothers and the fathers of the gods, or better, the grandfathers and the grandmothers of the gods, the ancestors of the gods. So they along with Ptah as one body formed the mountain or the hill, which was symbolic of a pyramid that rose up out of the water. So the pyramid is symbolic of that first mound that rose up. And that's why Ptah is spoken of as a craftsman, the master craftsman, because he built that first mound or pyramid that rose up out of the primordial waters of noon. When he rose up that pyramid or that mound, at that very moment that it began to stick out of the water, the Bennu bird appeared. The Bennu bird also came out of the noon, but he couldn't come until the mound formed. And at that time, that very exact moment, heaven met earth. The Bennu bird from above and the mountain from below. You have the picture of like the eye on top of the pyramid on the back of the dollar bill. You see the mound coming up and something coming to meet it at that very point where the heaven and the earth meet. Because the Bennu bird was a form of the god Atum, who we call Atum, which is Tim or Timi or Atim. The god Tim came in the form of a star, what some might call a sun. And he merged with the top of the mound. Now this is all symbolism that can be found when you go to rivers and oceans, and there you find migrating birds, or what they call wading birds. And these are the birds such as the heron. In ancient Egypt you had the Goliath heron and you had the gray heron. Over here in America we have, in Egypt of the West, or Kim West, we have the great blue heron. The great blue heron is the symbol of the god Atum, who came and met the god Ptah and thus sparked off creation. Now at these watering places, if you go to anyone today where they have they have grass at the water, it's a nature scene. They have birds like swans and ducks and herons and ibises.